Please subscribe my channel. I can still hear the steady tick of the clock from that night, each second dragging across my chest like a blunt blade. 24 years of marriage behind me. Yet I paced my own living room like a man who no longer belonged there. The dining table sat untouched, candles unlit, while the roast chicken I had carefully prepared hours earlier lay cold and forgotten. Diane, my wife, had told me she was going out with her friends. But after so many years together, I knew her habits, her tone, her eyes. And her eyes that evening betrayed her. She wasn't going out with the girls. She was meeting someone else. And I decided I would no longer wait another 24 years to face what I already knew in my gut. It had started slowly, as betrayal often does. Subtle shifts at first, Diane clutching her phone like it was an extra limb, guarding it from my sight. She began dressing differently, taking more time in front of the mirror even for small errands. She laughed at text messages but never shared the joke. And every so often, she carried a faint scent of cologne that was definitely not mine. At first, I dismissed it as paranoia. After all, we had weathered storms together. We raised 2 children, bought a home, endured the grief of losing her mother, and celebrated anniversaries I thought meant something. Who would betray a partner after so much history? But then came the lie. She told me she had a girls' night, yet slipped into a black dress I hadn't seen in years. It clung to her figure in a way that screamed seduction rather than casual comfort. She painted her lips, wore perfume, heels, the kind of effort she hadn't made for me in a very long time. My stomach churned. I knew then she wasn't meeting friends. I could have confronted her, demanded the truth, shouted, begged. But something inside me hardened. I thought of the sacrifices I had made, the overtime shifts to pay off our house, the vacations we never took because she needed to care for her mother, the dreams I had buried so we could build a family. And I decided she didn't deserve another fight. What she deserved was consequence. So while she walked out the door with a smile meant for someone else, I picked up my phone and made a call. My attorney, whom I'd quietly consulted earlier that week when my doubts became too heavy, answered immediately. Tonight, I told him. Send the process server tonight. The wait was brutal. Hours dragged by as I sat in the dim light of the living room, my eyes fixed on the wedding photo resting on the mantel. In that picture, we were young, her in her lace gown, me in a suit too large for my frame, both of us glowing with promises of forever. I whispered to that photograph. What happened to us, Diane? What happened to forever? Every sound of the house, every creak in the floorboards, reminded me that she was out there with another man, laughing, whispering, perhaps kissing lips that once swore loyalty only to me. Finally, I heard the crunch of tires on the driveway. Diane stepped inside, cheeks flushed, the faint trace of alcohol on her breath. There was a sparkle in her eyes, the kind I hadn't seen directed at me in years. She froze when she saw me sitting there, still in my work clothes, hands clenched tightly. Tom, she stammered. You're still awake? Yeah, I said flatly. I was waiting. She hesitated, setting her purse down. Listen, But a knock on the door cut her off. Diane frowned as I stood and opened it. A man in a suit stood there, holding a sealed envelope. Mrs. Diane Walker? He asked. She automatically stepped forward. Yes. He handed her the envelope. You've been served. Her face turned pale as she clutched the papers, her eyes darting between the man and me. He gave a nod and left. Divorce papers, I said, my voice trembling with both rage and sorrow. I knew. Her lips parted, but she struggled for words. Finally she whispered. Tom, wait. It's not what you think. Not what I think. I snapped, rising to my feet. You spent tonight with another man after 24 years, Diane. 24 years. Tears filled her eyes, though I couldn't tell if they came from guilt or fear of losing everything. I didn't mean for this to happen, she stammered. I felt something was missing. You've been so distant, so focused on work. I let out a bitter laugh. Distant? Diane, I worked myself raw for us. Every late night, every extra shift. It was for this house, for our kids, for you. And you repaid me by running to another man's arms. She flinched at my words. I didn't plan it. It just happened. That's every cheater's excuse, I said coldly. You didn't plan it, but you didn't stop it either. She sank onto the couch, her hands trembling as she held the papers. Do you really want to throw away everything we've built? 24 years, Tom. Our family, our memories. Don't you dare talk about family, I cut her off sharply. You destroyed that the moment you chose him over me. You made your choice tonight, and I made mine. Her tears spilled freely, but I felt nothing, just numbness. Memories flickered through my mind. Holding her when her mother died. The day our son was born, when I cried harder than she did. The laughter we shared over burnt dinners and broken washing machines. All of it felt poisoned now, tainted by the truth. I was never enough for her. Finally, I turned and said, I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow, you can start packing. She looked up at me, desperation in her eyes. Tom, please. I still love you. I paused at the doorway, my back to her. No, Diane. You don't love me. You love the idea of me being here while you chase someone else. That's not love. That's convenience. With that, I walked away, leaving her sobbing on the couch. The weeks that followed blurred together. Lawyers, paperwork, hushed conversations with our children. My daughter wept when she found out, blaming herself. My son clenched his fists in silent fury and barely spoke to his mother. Diane begged for another chance, but the process had already begun, and my resolve only grew stronger every time I pictured her smile from that night, walking back into our home with another man's glow on her skin. The final end came in the courthouse. We sat across from each other, Diane's face pale and her eyes swollen from endless tears. I thought I might feel pity, but all I felt was emptiness. When it was over, she whispered, I never thought it would end like this. I looked at her. The woman I once thought would stand beside me until the end of my life. Neither did I said quietly. But you made sure it did. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. That was the last time we spoke. Months have passed since then. The house feels both lonelier and freer. I still catch myself setting 2 plates at the dinner table out of habit. Sometimes I smell her perfume lingering on a pillow. But the silence no longer suffocates me. It feels like healing. Betrayal doesn't just shatter your heart, it reshapes you. It forces you to face the truth of who you are without the person you thought you couldn't live without. Diane went on her Friday night date, and I sent her a process server. It was the hardest choice I've ever made, but also the one that saved me. Because in the end, it wasn't only about her infidelity. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my peace, and the years I refused to let her steal from me. And that, I realized, was worth far more than 24 years of lies.